No BS. It's all truth. They are who we thought they were. And we got them off the hook. It's the point. Here's Adam Sager.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the debut episode of the Straight to the Point podcast. I am your host, Adam Sager. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Adam G. Sager, on Instagram at Adam G. Sager. We'll be talking a lot of football today. We're going to be talking a little bit of baseball and even a little bit of the NBA. Is the NFL draft, or excuse me, the NBA draft is next week, I believe. And some interesting names, but really this offseason isn't a good time to get better. You can add some pieces, but there are no big stars available, at least that I see happening, especially with Anthony Davis going to re-sign with the Lakers. What else will we get into today? The NFL, and that's where we're going to start. Well, the Steelers remain undefeated. The Saints beat up Tom Brady last night in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. The Bills look good. Watch out for this Dolphins team, especially with Tua at quarterback. Titans continue to win as the Bears are just pathetic. What did they do this offseason? And plenty more to get into in the NFL. College football, big game of the weekend. Notre Dame gets past Clemson. Clemson didn't have Trevor Lawrence, but it still counts. Took double overtime. It was a very fun game to watch. The offenses showed up more than I thought they would. I thought it'd be a little bit more of a low-scoring game, but Notre Dame gets the job done. Now number 2 in the AP poll. Ohio State cruises their number 3. Florida with a statement win, in my opinion, over Georgia, and it's the way they won. Not the fact that they won, but the way they won. Just beating up, just shutting down the Georgia Bulldogs. And Georgia, I thought, had one of the best, if not the best, defense in college football. And Florida's offense looked really good. Also, what the hell does JT Daniels have to do to get on the field? Stetson Bennett gets hurt, and then here comes Dwan Mathis again. You have JT Daniels warming up on the sidelines. Nothing. So did not. He's not made an impact in his time at Georgia. Plus, plenty more. Listen, guys, I'm a Michigan fan. This is pathetic. You got Michigan and Penn State. 2 teams that people thought were going to compete in the Big Ten. Everybody thought it was Ohio State's conference. Me as a Michigan fan thought it's Ohio State's conference. It's been Ohio State's conference for, 20 years or whatever it's been. But we thought there were some teams in that conference that could maybe compete. Well, those 2 teams are out the door. You've got Indiana. Are they the second best team in the Big Ten? We don't know what the hell's going on with Wisconsin and all their COVID cases. Minnesota, everybody, PJ Fleck, they went out and got beat up by a bad Michigan team, it looks like. So the Big Ten, I thought, was going to be better. No, not at all. Maybe Iowa. Maybe Iowa's the team, but I don't ever trust Iowa. So the Big Ten, that's something we'll get into here in a little bit. And there's some fun stories in college football. And like I said, the NBA draft coming up. We got MLB free agencies kind of kicked off. We had a deal with the Blue Jays keeping one of their pitchers. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But let's get back to the NFL. Steelers get to 8-0. It's a big time win in a game that, you know what, maybe they shouldn't have won. You get the W over the Cowboys in Dallas. 24-19 was the final. I mean, it was what, 13-0 at one point in this game. So the Steelers defense stepped up when they needed to. They got going, and Big Ben got banged up a little bit. And you know, if you're watching that game, you had to be a little concerned with the way he was moving and the way things were going for him. So you had to be a little tiny concerned. But it just it was not not a very good game for the Steelers, but that's a game you pull out, and that's what good teams do, and that's what they did. So I look at it. Sorry, I paused there for a minute. My my other recording of the podcast, which will go just for is not working. So that just kind of drives me nuts that all that I just did for the non-video podcast did not work, but that's all right. I can get that figured out later. It's new. This is all new to me. All this live, I'm used to just being on the radio, used to just walking in and turning my mic on and going, having everything ready to go. So all this new live YouTube stuff, bear with me as I figure all this stuff out over the next few weeks and hopefully a lot longer. And hopefully you'll be able to find me different places. I'm talking to a few different people, so we'll see. And hopefully you'll hear my voice on some radio airwaves in your area or through podcasts, through different organizations here in the very near future. But back to this Cowboys-Steelers game. Steelers get to win 24-19. Big Ben, 29 of 42, 306 yards, 3 touchdowns, did not turn the ball over through the air. It was a Big Ben type of game. And, you look at, they just have so many weapons in the pass game for Big Ben. And that's what I love about this team. Their defense is one of the best in football. That's not going to change. You got TJ Watt, you got Cam Hayward, you got Minkah Fitzpatrick. And this is without Devin Bush, who's obviously I'm a Michigan fan. I just told you guys. I think he's one of the best young linebackers because of his speed, the way he plays, the physicality he plays with just fits perfectly in Pittsburgh. They lose him for the season, but you know what? They're still a very good defense because of all the guys I just mentioned. And there's more. They're a veteran-led team. And then offensively, the weapons, the rookie Chase Claypool is getting better every single week, and they're figuring out how to utilize his speed and everything moving forward. Juju Smith-Schuster, another guy that just is a very good wide receiver. Is he an elite wide receiver? He's a very good wide receiver. Then you add in Eric Ebron was a great pickup, and he's fit that offense perfectly. And then you've got Deontay Johnson. You've got James Washington, who's just kind of a deep threat guy. Caught the touchdown yesterday from Ben. I thought he was going to be better, but you know what? He knows his role and he's playing it, and that's what the Steelers need from him. You also have Vance McDonald and McLeod, McFarland out of the backfield. He's really impressed me as a young player. I wish James Conner was the guy he was a few years ago. And I know it sucks he got sick and all that, but I wish he was that guy. Because if he was, then, it would be very different in terms of what this team could do. Because still running the ball, it's not like yesterday they ran the ball, 18 times for 46 yards. That just doesn't fly. Now, of course, in this new NFL, you can get away with it a little bit more. And the amount of weapons, all the weapons I just said that they have, it's a very nice luxury to have that, you know what? Yeah, our run game is not working. But we still have all these weapons, plus a great veteran quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger to go to. If you're a Cowboys fan, to be honest, this is a game you wanted to lose. I know it's great to win and it's great to do all this and that, but this is a game you wanted to lose. You're looking to get you're looking to get as high of a draft pick as you can. Because you know what? Dak goes out with a serious ankle injury. Right now, he is not signed for next year. He is not locked in for next year. So is this something that, if you get a high pick, are you looking at one of these quarterbacks? I just saw a mock draft last night. They're picking third. I mean, are you looking at a Justin Fields? Are you looking at a Zach Wilson, who we'll get into in a little bit with what his team is doing and how much fun that BYU team is? Trey Lance, not playing. Played the one game at North Dakota State, but he's another guy that a lot of people like, and some project him to be a top 5-ish pick. Definitely probably a top 10 pick. There's 4 quarterbacks in this class right now that people are looking at, and they're saying, all these guys look like top 10 picks. If you're the Cowboys, are you saying, you know what, Dak's coming off a serious ankle injury. He's still going to want $40 million a year. If we tag him, it's basically a 1 year, roughly in the $39 million-ish range for his second year of the franchise tag. Do you want to put that much money into one position for a guy who, yes, I love Dak Prescott. For a guy who, you know what, maybe your team's not quite there. See, that's the thing. They are a team that's close. They got the weapons in CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Zeke Elliott, Gallup. They got an offensive line that just keeps getting banged up. Dude, if that offensive line could stay healthy and they have Dak as quarterback, we saw it. We saw what they were doing. Dak was on a historic pace in the first few games of the season this year. They can put up monster numbers. Dak's a very good quarterback. And you know what? That's why if they decide we've gotten Dak's ankle checked out, he's ready to go, we think this is he's going to be 100%. There will be no limitations with his ankle. We're going to pay him, and we're going to figure things out as we go. You know what? I can't be mad at that, because if you feel like you have your franchise quarterback, you don't let him get away. But that's where I'd go back to say, and hey, I get it. He got hurt. He had never missed a game until this year. What do you do if you're the Cowboys? That's going to be one of the big questions heading into the offseason. I guess we're going to have to wait and see until this season is over where they stand in the draft. If they're a top 3 pick, they have to seriously consider drafting one of these quarterbacks. Because not only does it give you a fresh start to a new quarterback, but it helps with the salary cap, which they're really pressed hard against. You bring in a rookie on his salary cap for the next 4 years, then you get the 5th-year option. You know, it's going to be roughly in the 26 million. But the money that you're able to save on the salary cap, then they can go spend on a DB, because they need those very badly. They can maybe fix the offensive line and move some things around to get guys that are going to play consistently, because that's their problem right now. The offensive line has a bunch of talent, but none of them play consistently because they're always injured. So the Cowboys are going to be, and we know Jerry, he'll make the bold move. He's not scared. He will make the bold move if he needs to. So really good win for the Steelers to come back. They did not have it last night, and they found a way to get the victory. And that's the most important thing for that team. Keep extending, every game because Baltimore won yesterday. They beat the Colts 24-10. That division is very much still up for grabs. Because right now you look at it, let me see here. Let me pull it up here. My iPad will work here in the AFC North. Yeah, it's a 2-game lead for the Steelers. 8-0, 6-2 are the Ravens. Again, 2 games behind the Steelers, who are the only undefeated team. And if you're the Ravens, say we got to keep holding serve, keep doing what we're doing. The Browns are right there behind them at 5-3. I'm not a huge Browns believer, but that defense has some real good talent. The offense now loses Odell Beckham Jr. They travel to Houston next week, which should be a win. The Houston Texans are not good. The Browns should beat the Houston Texans next week. I don't care what. Myles Garrett should have 5 sacks. That's how bad that Houston Texans offensive line is, especially if he's lined up over Titus Howard. And he does. He plays that end most of the time. And that's going to be a game to watch. If you love just watching pass rushers, go watch Myles Garrett against the Texans next week. So, Ravens stay right there. They get the win over a good Colts team. They've been playing pretty well. They're 5-3 on the year. They're both 2-loss teams going into yesterday. The Colts are a team that plays very good defense, and Phillip Rivers does just enough offensively to make them a contender. Can they win a Super Bowl? I don't know about that, but they can do some damage with that defense. And we've seen teams, mainly for them, they need to get that run game going with Jonathan Taylor. It's so young, and after they lost Marlon Mack, that was a big letdown for them. But again, that defense will keep them in most games, and they should be a playoff team. If you're the Ravens, I mean, listen, this all comes down to you're one of the better teams in the NFL. Plain and simple. You are one of the better teams. You've been one of the better teams for the last year and a half. Can you win in the postseason? Can Lamar take that next step in the postseason? We have to wait and see. I hope so. I love watching Lamar play. And I'll admit, I was one that I didn't really believe in him. I didn't think he would ever be this. I thought he could be an NFL quarterback, but I never thought he would be what he is in the NFL. An MVP in his second year in the league. He's just, some of the stuff he does is incredible. He has shown that right now you can take what works in college, bring it to the NFL, and it will work here. Because these guys we're seeing are legit crazy good athletes. And they are so good in college. And we saw it. Lamar was just running circles around a lot of these defenses in college. He was throwing to wide open guys. And a lot of people will say, well, that's not going to work in the NFL. Well, you know what does work in the NFL? His speed, his elusiveness, his ability to get to the edge and make defenders miss. And he's doing that all in the NFL. And that's what makes him so, so good. So, again, Steelers 8-0. Great team win because they did not play well. They did not play their best football to start that game. It didn't let it get down. Didn't let them, say, well, this is a game we'll just chalk up. We lost the game. Here we go. Let's move on to something else. All right, Saints last night. Woo. If you missed that game, or if you missed the first, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of that game, you missed everything because the Saints just put an ass whooping on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. I hadn't seen Tom Brady look that frustrated in a long time. It was crazy. I mean, you look at it. Saints score a touchdown on their first drive. 4-minute drive. They made it look easy. They made it look like the New Orleans Saints of old. We've seen the Saints struggle this year a little bit. They did not have Michael Thomas most of the year. He is back. He's playing. But, if you're and Michael Thomas in his return, 5 catches for 51 yards, nobody put up a monster game receiving for the Saints, but that's Drew Brees. I'm going to spread it around. I mean, I'm just looking at it. How many different guys caught a ball? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different guys caught a ball. Drew Brees was 26 of 32 for 222 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. That's how easy it was. It was so bad that Jameis Winston played. They had 3 different guys attempt passes. Taysom Hill attempted 2. Jameis attempted 1. Let's see. They were 29 of 35 for their quarterbacks in that game. And this is a Tampa defense that we think can be good enough to win a Super Bowl. Last night, clearly, they were not. For the Tampa Bay Bucks, Tom Brady was 22 of 38 for 209 yards. And get this, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. We've seen the Saints defense struggle this year. They flipped a switch, and now I saw a crazy stat. Let me see if I can quick find it. Who had it? I thought it was Trey Wingo, but I'm not seeing it here. It's according to, I believe it was Trey Wingo. He said that this is the first team to ever sweep Tom Brady in a season. Think about that. What are we in, year 21 or whatever, 20 of Tom Brady? He's never been swept in a year by a division rival. Oh, yeah, here it is. Rich Eisen tweeted, remarkably, the Saints become the first division opponent to ever sweep Tom Brady. It had never happened in 20 years in the AFC East. So the Dolphins, Jets, and Bills never won 2 games against the Patriots in the same year. I mean, that's incredible. The Saints, in year 21 of Tom Brady's career, are the first team to beat him twice in a season. It's crazy. And then you look at, so Tom Brady throws the ball 38 times. Rushing, if you're a Bucs fan, this has just got to be frustrating. And as a fantasy owner or a guy who likes to play fantasy a little bit, I'm not huge into it anymore, but a guy we thought was going to make a big difference to this team, Leonard Fournette, has meant nothing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Ronald Jones, who I thought was going to be good after his start, and he's shown games where he's been good. Yesterday, Leonard Fournette, 1 carry, 0 yards. Ronald Jones, 3 carries for 9 yards. Blaine Gabbert had a carry for -1. Total, 5 carries for 8 yards for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's pathetic. That is just pathetic if you're looking at that. Rush yards, 8. New Orleans, 138. That's where you can't do that. I mean, rushing, Taysom Hill led them with 54 yards rushing. Alvin Kamara finished 9 carries, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Latavius Murray, 10 carries, 39 yards. They had a bunch of different guys run the ball. So, just a great win for the New Orleans Saints. And if you're New Orleans, you say, okay, people were starting to doubt us, including myself, including Sean Salisbury, who I used to work with down in Houston. We started questioning this team. How good are they really? Really, how good are they? Well, I think they're starting to show us again that don't forget about them. They're sitting 6-2. 3-0 in the division. They've won 5 straight. This is a team that now, with the Packers, I still put the Bucs there. The Seahawks have a lot of talent. But I think the Saints are right there with the Packers, your favorites in the NFC. I mean, you think about it. They were 1-2. And everybody started writing them off, myself included. Thought, you know what? Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is when Father Time caught up with Drew. Well, he didn't have his number 1 target most of the year. And they were still winning games. That offense looked like it was back last night. And that's a big difference. So I just look at it as the Saints are one of the favorites. Can they win a Super Bowl? Sure they can. I think it would take a lot to beat the Chiefs, say. But can they do it? Yeah, because they do have some good defensive players that can make life hell. When you look at Cam Jordan and some others, Marshawn Lattimore is a great corner. They have a lot, and they have guys that are continually getting better. And it's just, they're a team that, again, people wrote off, and we were too quick to, because now they've won 5 straight. Great point differential of 44, right there with Tampa, who's at 47. It's just, I'm quick looking. They got the 4th best point differential in the NFC. And the NFC's loaded. I mean, let's be real. You got the Seattle Seahawks are really good. You got the Arizona Cardinals, who are 5-3 despite a loss yesterday to the surging Miami Dolphins. Are the Dolphins a lock to make the playoffs? I'm going to tell you why I think they are here in just a few minutes. You've got the New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's go back to the West. You got the Rams. You got the 49ers. Both those teams are good. They all have positive point differentials. 49ers are 4-5 despite having injuries every freaking spot on their team. And they keep coming back and then getting hurt. Jimmy came back, got hurt. George Kittle came back, got hurt. They lost Nick Bosa for the year. This guy gets COVID. He's out for the week. This guy was close to him. He's out for the week. This guy's hurt. I mean, it's just not. Solomon Thomas out for the year. There's just so many injuries for the San Francisco 49ers that I don't know how they're 4-5, but they're still a damn good team. And that's due to a lot of Kyle Shanahan being a damn good coach. We wanted to see if this was the year maybe he could get them over the top. With all the injuries, I think it's going to be tough. I don't even know that I doubt they make the playoffs. But that entire NFC West is very, very good. So the NFC is loaded. And it's going to be fun to see, what happens in that conference and how things stack up. Because when you got Seattle 6-2, you got Green Bay 6-2. You got New Orleans 6-2. And remember, the new system, one team gets that one spot. They get a bye. The 2 seed does not get a bye anymore. They have to play a wild card team because they've added a team this year to make it 7 in each conference. So that 1 seed is particularly important this year. A lot of times the 1 seed just kind of coasts and says, well, we got this 1 or the 2 at least. We lock that up. This year, you got to make sure that you have it locked up. And we could be going into week 17 with 2 or 3 teams tied with 3 or 4 losses, and they're wanting to make sure that they get that 1 seed. It's going to be very, very important this year. All right, what else we got? A game that, to be honest, I did not really see coming. I thought it would be a high-scoring game based off just how they've played this year, both teams and their defenses. But the Bills, 44-34 victory over the Seahawks. The Russell Wilson season continues. Dude is just having a great year. Last night he was 28 of 41, 390 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have 2 picks, which is not Russell Wilson-esque, but still put up 34 points. They did not have a running game. Carlos Hyde was out. Chris Carson was out. They were running DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. Ran the ball 13 combined times. Then Russell Wilson and Alex Collins each ran twice. But the story of the game, and maybe the story of this season, in terms of just one single player, is Josh Allen. The jump he's made is incredible. Well, yesterday, against a bad Seahawks defense, but he's been so much better this year against everybody. 31 of 38, 415 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. They did not run the ball particularly well. Well, in fact, they didn't run the ball well at all. Let's see, 16, 18, 19 carries for 34 yards. Did have 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen had 1. Zach Moss had 1. But this is what happens when you get a legit number 1 in Stephon Diggs. They made the trade for him last year. You bring him in. That pushes John Brown to the 2, where he's a very solid number 2. He had 8 catches for 99 yards. Stephon Diggs had 9 catches for 118 yards. And then Cole Beasley gets to just be the normal slot guy, third guy. You could do different things with them. So they have a good amount of weapons. I thought their defense would be better. I think their defense can be better. I think it's something that throughout the year, hopefully they continue to creep better. But right now, the way their offense is playing, they have not had to play better because their offense just keeps putting up points. They're 7-2, still yet to have their bye, which will be nice for them to kind of just rest and get things, ready and just kind of get guys healthy again. This is the point in the season where guys start feeling things a lot more than earlier in the year. You're halfway through, you're 9 weeks in. It's going to be good for them to have this late bye. Again, 7-2. Right now you have the third best record in the AFC because the Kansas City Chiefs are 8-1, and then of course the Pittsburgh Steelers are 8-0. So you have a half-game lead over the Ravens and the Titans, who won again yesterday. They keep winning football games. I just talked about how good the NFC is with the top teams. And we're looking at this AFC, and we're trying to figure things out. We know the Steelers are really good, but I still think the best team is the Chiefs. When you have Patrick Mahomes, you have that offense, and then you have enough pieces on defense to get after the quarterback. Tyrann Mathieu he's an elite player on the back end. They have guys that are getting better. They have the rookie, completely blanking on his name, the linebacker. They have the ability to get better as the season goes. And that's where I kind of look at these teams. Who can get better as the season goes? I think the Chiefs offense, as crazy as it sounds, being 8-1, they can get better as this year goes because Clyde Edwards-Helaire, every game he's getting more experience. And we've seen what he can do. He can get even better. I think Le'Veon Bell, adding him to that team, letting him work his way in, I think is another reason that offense can get better. And then, it's just about, for them, it's about staying healthy. Yesterday they beat the Carolina Panthers 33-31. You want to talk about a team that has just been better than a lot of people thought. The Carolina Panthers, they're doing some things there. And I may bring up a name with them here pretty soon, but one bad note is, of course, Christian McCaffrey returns and gets injured. Now it looks like he will miss a few games. Is this season go? I think he just missed 5. He may miss at least a few more, and that's not something you want to see if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, because you know what, you just paid him. And I've always said, along with a lot of others, including my guy Jeff Schwartz, who hates paying running backs. Christian McCaffrey was the one guy that was like, he's still so young. The ability he brings to catch the ball, run the ball, everything. Okay, you can pay him $16 million. And then, of course, boom, here he is. He's played, 3 games? Of course, I'm a fantasy owner of him, and it's just frustrating. It always seems that when a running back gets paid, boom, injuries start. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate, but it's the life of the running back. That's where the running back is now. And we just have to know that, if you're going to pay a running back, even if he's elite, even if he is the best in football, chances are that contract may not end up well. Look, Le'Veon Bell gets paid by the Jets. He's already gone. Christian McCaffrey gets paid. Hurt. Who's next? Saquon Barkley. Dalvin Cook got his money. He's been good so far. But again, that's a long-term deal. So it's just such a dangerous game to play when it comes to running backs and paying them big, big money. I would not want my team to do it, because we see too many guys come in this league and have success as running backs as 4th, 5th round picks, 6th round picks. Guys that just get in the right system. That's the key. If you have a certain system, you run. Find guys that fit that system. Find multiple guys that fit that system. And in my opinion, as bad as this does sound, run them into the ground. If you pick them in the mid rounds, I would never take a running back in the first round. In my opinion, I just would not. I don't think. Look at Zeke Elliott. He got paid. I know Dak got hurt, but even when Dak was not hurt, Zeke was not himself, fumbling, just not picking up yards, getting tackled a lot easier than the old Zeke we were used to seeing. Well, I mean, when he's running the ball as much as he is at OSU, and then he comes in, he's getting the ball a ton as the starter in Dallas. That takes a toll on a guy, and sometimes you just got to say, paying a running back, drafting a running back high, it's dangerous, and I just wouldn't do it. I would again scheme, figure out my scheme. Look at Kyle Shanahan. Get a bunch of guys that fit your scheme that you like, and use them all. That's what he does, and look at the success he's had. I mean, Raheem Mostert, cut by multiple teams, he turns him into a great player. Now he's been injured, but he had Tevin Coleman, who he paid. I would not have paid him that, but he's a guy that he had in Atlanta, could come in, help everybody out with the scheme, help everybody out, and give him some good carries. Matt Breida, who's now in Miami. I mean, find multiple guys, find 3 or 4 guys that fit your system. And again, as bad as it's not, run them into the ground and then say, thank you for your time. Your services are no longer needed. And you replace them with some young backs again that fit your system. And you just try and do that, and you spend the money elsewhere on quarterback, on wide receiver, on corner, on defensive end, on offensive line. Offensive line is, I still feel like it's so undervalued in the league today. And it's not just, I know the left tackles. Ronnie Stanley got paid and then got hurt. Laramie Tunsil got paid. I mean, all these guys are getting paid. But it's the left tackle. Everybody still thinks left tackle, left tackle, left tackle. You got to have a unit. When the Dallas Cowboys were great a few years back, they had the entire unit. Now they've got injured, they've retired. La'el Collins, they were able to pick up because of what happened with him, and now he's hurt. But they did the right thing. They built that whole offensive line as a unit. And they got lucky because I don't want to say they got lucky. They did a good job of finding Dak Prescott, drafting him, and giving him the ball. And an injury made that happen, but look how it's worked out for him. So it's just paying a running back is dangerous. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, so, okay, let me backtrack now back to the AFC. You're looking at this and you're saying, okay, the NFC is loaded with a bunch of good teams, but is there an elite team? I don't know. I don't know that, in my opinion, no. The Packers are not elite. The Bucks are not elite. The Saints are not elite. The Seahawks are not elite. The Cardinals, the Rams, and definitely not the NFC East. Nobody's elite in the NFC. Then you look at the AFC. You have the Chiefs. They are elite, in my opinion. Super Bowl champions. Best quarterback in the league with a top 1 or 2, I would say, best offense in the league. And a defense that we've seen win a Super Bowl. Then you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, the only undefeated team in football. I have to call them elite. They're 8-0. They've gone half the year and they've won every game. So right now they are an elite football team with an elite defense and a Super Bowl winning quarterback that's a veteran with a bunch of weapons around him that he knows how to get the balls to. Baltimore Ravens, this is a team that I don't know if I'd consider them elite. They are elite-like, but I still wouldn't call them elite because I have not seen them do it in the postseason. So I'd put them the tier down with the top AFC teams. Tennessee, I'd put them down there with the top NFC teams with Baltimore in that. And then, look at the Colts. The Colts and Bills. The Colts, the Bills, the Titans, the Ravens. Stack them all together. Stack them all together, in my opinion. That's how I would do it. Right now, the playoffs in the AFC, I'm pulling it up. Well, that's not how I want it to look. You'd have, there we go. Now it fixed itself. The Steelers would be the 1 seed, obviously 8-0. Chiefs 2, Bills 3, Ravens 4. No, excuse me. Steelers, the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Titans would be your 4 division leaders, and then you have Baltimore, Indy, and Miami. Those would be your 7 teams, with Cleveland and the Raiders, who a lot of people, including myself, continue to overlook, but they 5-3. That would be your playoffs right now. I mean, who is that last team I mentioned? And I want to talk about them. The Miami Dolphins. Everybody tends to have, that one team that they like, but it's not their favorite team. For me, that is the Miami Dolphins. I grew up, my dad's a Miami Dolphins fan. So I grew up always rooting for that team. I always grew up, rooting for Dan Marino. I love Dan Marino. He is my favorite quarterback of all time because I grew up a Bears fan. We don't have quarterbacks. Jay Cutler is the best that I've ever seen, and I love Jay, but let's face it, he's not Dan Marino at all. But yesterday, Miami playing a good Arizona Cardinals team. Arizona came in 5-2. Miami got to 4-3. Tua took over. Didn't look good in his first game, but they won the game because their defense beat up on Jared Goff and the Rams. Another good team from the NFC West. I just talked about the NFC West a few minutes ago, saying how good that division is. Well, here's the Miami Dolphins back-to-back weeks facing the NFC West. The Rams, their defense just beats up. Tua doesn't even have to do much. But then they come back and they play a good Cardinals team led by Kyler Murray. They're in Arizona. What do they need to do? Tua comes out 20-28, 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, including a touchdown late. I mean, what a great bounce back game off his rough first start, his first real action. He comes back against a good team. Now, maybe not the greatest defense, but you know what? You play who's out there, right? And he also ran the ball 7 times for 35 yards. So he showed he can use his legs enough. He's not going to be Lamar Jackson. He's not going to be Deshaun Watson. He's not going to be these guys that can move around. But he can do it enough. And you know what? He's fully healthy. The hip is healthy. He's shown it. He's shown the zip on the passes. He's shown the ability to make the first defender miss and be able to still get the ball off. He's able to get passes off. He threw a great pass for a first down late in the game with a pressure right in his face on a blitz. He's showing why he was considered one of the best quarterbacks in the draft last year. Joe Burrow went 1, rightfully so. And he's really shown us what he was, why he had such a good year at LSU, a record-breaking year at LSU, winning a national title. But a lot of people had Tua as number 1 for a long time. Now I think he's going to show us why. I think he's going to lead the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs. I think he's going to show us, why he was picked as high as he was. The Miami Dolphins schedule, let me pull it up. This is why I'm going to tell you they're a playoff team. Because when you look at their upcoming schedule, it sets up very favorable for them. Let me get to this here. 5-3. They've had their bye. Now they play the Chargers, which is going to be a fun game. It's in Miami, so LA has to travel cross country. You get Herbert. You get Tua. They were picked right next to each other. And Herbert's looked really good. But Miami's defense is better. That's a game they should win. The Los Angeles Chargers, I believe, have won 2 games. They are 2-6, and they're in a lot of games. And that offense, is putting up some numbers, especially with Justin Herbert. He's on pace for something like 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 10 or 11 picks. Well, I mean, what a rookie year. And that's in 15 games. I mean, what a rookie year. But they're not winning games. They still have that stigma, and I don't know if that's going to take Anthony Lynn being fired because they're losing games that they really, in reality, should win. So I'm not going to chalk that up as a win for Miami, but Miami should win the game. At Denver, same thing. Team that has some talent, you know, a team that yesterday, I'm trying to remember what they did. I'm pulling up the scoreboard here. Oh, let's see. Oh, yeah, that's right. They lost to the Falcons, 34-27. They're 3-5 now in the year. That's a game in Denver, so it's going to be different, but they can go in and win. Then you play the Jets. Should be a win. And then we get another fun rookie quarterback showdown in Miami against Cincinnati and Joe Burrow. But that's a game Miami should win. Their defense should win them these games. And then Tua doing what he did. We're going to see up and down from Tua. But he has the ability to win games for Miami and then also make the playoffs. And everyone says, "Oh, well, don't you want high picks? Don't you want high picks for if you're Miami? You know, shouldn't you want to kind of lose?" No, because here's the great thing for Miami. They have Houston's first round pick. They have 2 first round picks this year. And right now the Houston pick would be top 10. And we'll see what Houston does the rest of the year. I still think they're going to finish with 4 or 5 wins. I know they beat the Jags twice, and everybody's like, "Oh, can they get to 500? Oh. Well, they barely beat the Jags yesterday with a I don't know if he was undrafted, Jake Luton, the kid from Oregon State, but he put up big numbers. They barely won that game yesterday. So, Miami really has the shot. So those 4 games, you go 3-1. You're 8-4 on the year. Okay, now you got 4 games left. Kansas City at home, New England at home, at Vegas, at Buffalo. That's a tough 4-game stretch, right? It is. It really is. New England's down. At home, you should beat New England. Kansas City is obviously going to be tough. Let's just say it's a loss. So I got them at 8-5. Then you beat New England. I went out of order there. Beat New England. You're 9-5. And then all you got to do, 2 road games to finish out the year. Split with the Raiders, split with the Bills. You're a 10-win team. That's getting you in the playoffs. 9 wins may get you in the playoffs in the AFC. They should be a 9-win team minimum. But that defense will keep them in games. You know, Brian Flores just has them playing really well as a team. He is taking what he learned in New England, and he has them playing very good football as a team. So, my camera got a little high on me there as I was looking up some stuff. You know, just a lot of fun in the NFL this year. It feels like we've had a ton of COVID stuff going on in the NFL, and we have had a lot of COVID stuff, and guys missing games and stuff like that. But we expected it. We haven't had, we've had games moved around and that stuff, but that seems to have gone away, and they've kind of figured out, okay, contract tracing, you're going to sit out and you're going to maybe miss some practices. Hopefully we can figure it out to where, okay, you test negative throughout the week, you can play come Sunday. And we've seen it. Baker Mayfield just went on the COVID list, but they were on a bye. So he's got plenty of time. We just saw Matt Stafford miss a bunch of time on the COVID list, but he tested negative every day for so long, and he was able to play. Well, that's what Baker's going to be able to do. And he did not test positive. It was close contact. So that's why it's going to be interesting to see how it works. But, hey, if you're – every team is dealing with the same thing when it comes to COVID. I may think it's dumb. And that's where I have the problem with college football right now. It's just – I love college football. I like college football more than I like the NFL. It's just that's what I grew up loving. Not that I don't love the NFL, I just like college football more. College football this year has just, with all this, you got to sit out 21 days, and you had Trevor Lawrence who's sitting out due to COVID. He tested positive, yet now he's tested negative, but he can't play because he's on a hold because he has to get certain other tests done and pass those, but he couldn't get them before the game, and now he's missed 2 games, and now they lose a close game to Notre Dame, and it just, none of this feels like, why are you out 21 days? Like, come on. I get they made the protocols, that's the decisions they had to make to play this year, but I thought it could have been a really fun college football year, and we're seeing the Big Ten, the Pac-12. They've had issues. Wisconsin, Illinois. There was a game in the Pac-12 that was canceled. It's just the canceling of games, at least some of them in the NFL. You're just moving them around. You're making in the SEC. We've seen things have to get moved around. We saw games earlier in the year having to get moved around. So it's just something that it definitely is going to have to be figured out. But unfortunately, this season in college football, that's just what we're going to get. That is just what we're going to get. So fun week in the NFL. Let's switch over to college. We mentioned Clemson, Notre Dame. Excuse me. Not COVID. Just I know everybody, when you cough, it's just, oh my gosh, you got COVID. No, it's just a cough because I'm talking a lot, and I was dumb and did not grab water before I started this, and that's the way it goes. Again, this is the Straight to the Point podcast. I'm Adam Sager. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam G. Sager. You can follow me on Instagram at Adam G. Sager. I'm not very active on Instagram, but where the hell is college football when you need it on the ESPN app? Like, just very frustrating. But anyways, if you want to email the show, Straight to the Point pod, and the 2 is the actual number 2. So it's straight, the number 2, the point pod at gmail.com. Feel free to email, send any questions. I'll talk about them on the next one. I'm going to try and do this at least a few times a week as I try and make my way back to into radio. If you didn't know, I used to work for the Sean Salisbury Show in Houston on Sports Talk 790. I left. Me and my family moved back home to Illinois. We are just trying to figure things out, and I wanted to keep going, stay in this business, and right now this is the way. Hopefully there will be other avenues to hear me on air here in the next few weeks, hopefully. I can't explain exactly what that is yet, but there are some talks ongoing, and hopefully we see something here very soon, and I'll let you guys know and where to hear me and when to hear me, and it'll be a lot of fun. So to college football, let's just start with the big game. Obviously, Clemson, Notre Dame, and of course, my iPad doesn't really want to work. Where did it go? Well, I don't know. They don't even have. It's like the Clemson Notre Dame didn't happen on this app, of course. So I can't. Anyways, 2 overtime game. Notre Dame gets the job done. Great win for Brian Kelly in this team. I think this sets up, and I'll just get into this because this has gone a little bit longer than I even thought I was going to, but college football playoff. Rankings come out. The first rankings come out next week. It's big. This win for Notre Dame is big because, and it's not a catastrophe for Clemson. Clemson is playing without their quarterback. They take all that into consideration. If you are looking at this and you're Clemson, you're saying, okay, all we got to do is win out. We'll get to face Notre Dame again in the ACC championship. We can avenge the loss with Trevor Lawrence, and then we can we can get in the college football playoff. Because if they do that, if they win out and beating Notre Dame in the ACC championship and become ACC champion, they are in the college football playoff. And if you're Notre Dame, if you win out and lose to Clemson, you have a legit argument, hands down, you should be in the college football playoff. Simple. I mean, it's just simple. That should be. And so does that mean every year we always talk, oh, are we going to see two SEC teams in? Are we going to see two SEC teams in? I don't think so this year. I think you're going to have the SEC champ. It's going to be most likely Alabama because they are the best team despite their defense being abnormally bad, giving up a ton of points. The SEC is all of a sudden looking like the Big 12 with the amount of points being scored and just touchdowns left and right, and the defense not stacking up, and just looks very odd when you watch the SEC week in, week out. Hell, we had Florida, Georgia, 44-28. I mean, you look at that and you're thinking, what the hell? Like, how the hell did Florida score 44 points on Georgia? Oh, I mean, Kyle Trask went 30 for 43 for 470 plus yards and 4 touchdowns. That's just not what we expect from against a Georgia defense who has shown that they're very good again this year. But the Florida offense put an ass whooping on them. And that's just what happened in Georgia. You know, Georgia's now 4-2. They're out of the college football playoff talk. See ya, gone. Like, you're not here anymore. Florida 4-1. They still have a chance because if you win out, and they need Texas A&M though to lose, because Texas A&M is another team with a shot. Do I think they will? No, I don't. But they have a shot. If they win out, beat Alabama in the conference championship game, they're in. Plain and simple. And I guess the only way you can argue two SEC teams get in is Alabama goes undefeated and then loses in the college or in the SEC championship. But if you have both happen where Clemson wins the ACC championship over Notre Dame, those two have an argument. Then if Alabama were to lose to Florida or Texas A&M, Alabama would have an argument to be in. And then you're going to have Ohio State and possibly you look at Oregon or USC, who USC escaped Arizona State in a game that in reality they should not have won. They did not look good. Slovis is a player. First game, so I really like Kedon Slovis, but they should not have won that game. Too many mistakes, too many dumb penalties. I thought that it should have been better. I was expecting better from USC. Arizona State's got a lot of athletes on that team. They got a lot of weapons. Jaden Daniels is a fun quarterback to watch. But I expected USC to come out and, I don't want to say trounce them, but I thought they would handle them. They did not. So it's Oregon, USC. Those are the only two teams, in my opinion, who have a shot at the college football playoff from the Pac-12. But I could see the Pac-12 kind of cannibalizing each other. I don't think you got to go undefeated in the Pac-12 to have a shot. And then it always comes back to all the other stuff I was just mentioning. If Alabama goes undefeated but loses in the SEC championship to a one-loss Florida or Texas A&M, then that team or that Alabama team is going to have an argument to be in. Clemson, if they beat Notre Dame, they have an argument to be in. If you're Notre Dame, you have an argument to be in because you already beat Clemson, who just beat you. They split with each other. So that's where it's just, I think we have a real shot to see two ACC teams. And that's just because Notre Dame's considered an ACC team this year, is the reason I say that. Most years we don't have to worry about it. Everybody talks about Miami, and while they're good, I love Derek King, watching him, and they've been fun this year. They're not a college football playoff worthy Miami Hurricanes. And then next time we'll get into, when I have a little more time, I want to keep these to about an hour. So next time we'll get into a little more Michigan, Penn State, what's going on. I'll get into that later in the week. Is this it for Jim Harbaugh in Ann Arbor? Is this it? It's going to be interesting. And who could replace him? I'll give you my top three on the next podcast. NBA draft coming up in 10 days-ish, 9 days, something like that. I don't remember the exact date, but it's coming up. And MLB free agency. How long are we going to have to wait to see big deals? I'll talk about all that next on the next podcast. Hopefully Wednesday or Thursday. I'll try and get one done. I don't want to do one every day, but I'll do one at least 2 times a week, if not 3, depending on what's going on in the sports world. Plenty more to talk about, but again, I want to keep these to about an hour, and an hour is already gone. Just hit an hour. So thank you for watching, listening, and please go to YouTube, find the channel, hit subscribe. Let me know. You can come in, you can chat. You can hit me up on Twitter at Adam G. Sager, on Instagram at Adam G. Sager. You can email the show. It is straight to number 2, thepointpod@gmail.com. You can email the show that way. Ask any questions, any comments, you want to tell me how dumb I am? Fine. You can tweet at me. You can send me emails. You can do all kinds of stuff. But I will continue to try and do this a couple times, if not 3 times a week. All right, guys. I'm Adam Sager. Thanks for listening to the debut episode of Straight to the Point with myself, Adam Sager. We will talk to you next time. Thanks, guys.